I hate bringing home frozen fish. It is one of the worst pet peeves of mine when it comes to ice fishing. I just hate bringing home frozen fish sticks. The reason I don't like frozen solid fish when I get home is, number one, I have to thaw them out before I clean them. Number two, they get much slimier when they freeze. For some reason, they tend to slime up and get really nasty. And number three, you lose the fresh fish flavor when they freeze solid. So there's a lot of reasons that I want to keep them fresh. So tip number one is just to keep them in your shack. You can keep them in your shack with you. They're not going to freeze if you keep the heater on. Not the best method because you tend to trip over them. They try and flop into the hole and they dry out under the heater if you have them in there all day. So it works in a pinch. But my favorite way to keep fish from freezing is to keep them actually in the water. And there's a few ways to do that. We'll go outside and we'll take a look at a few different options that we can use to keep these fish from freezing. So this is option number two. This is a great way to keep your catch from freezing, and that's making an ice live well. So this is what I've done today for some of these fish. I just drilled out a few holes, and not all the way through the ice, just about 3/4 of the way, and then the last hole I just barely punched through. And that just allows that well to fill up with water, but it doesn't leave a big enough hole for the fish to escape. And I can keep the fish in here all day long as I keep skimming the ice off the top. Now that works great if the ice is thick enough and if you're fishing in one spot all day, but it doesn't work the greatest if you're being mobile and moving around, or if the ice is too thin. So there's a couple of products that I like to use in those conditions, and I'll show you those right now. All right, so number 3 and 4 are both live well products, and they're designed to keep your fish under the ice in an ice fishing hole. So the first one is the Ice Well Live Well. So Clam Outdoors is now selling these, and they're really slick. They fit in an 8-inch hole, and you just put your fish in the top, slide that in the water, and those slots allow it to fill up really quickly with water. And you can move around with that. You can pull it up, throw it in a 5-gallon bucket, move to another spot, and it works pretty slick. Now the only thing I don't like about that is in certain situations when I really want to move around a lot and be super mobile, I don't want to have to bring another bucket with me. And that's when I use the Clam Fish Well. So this is an actual bag, and I'll show you how this works. So I'll unroll it here, but as you can see, it rolls up in a really compact package. It's got a side zipper, and I'm just going to take these fish out of this hole. I'm going to stuff this bag down, and now it basically does the same thing as this hard ice well, and I can just put fish right in the bag, and I can allow that to sit, and when I'm done for the day, pull that bag up, unzip the side, and just dump my fish out at home. So typically what I do actually at the end of the day is just take this garbage bag that I packed with this, leave the fish in it, and then just wrap this bag around it so they don't freeze up my sled and get my sled all slimy. It's a really compact package. It works really well for light trips where you're traveling light and don't want to bring a bunch of gear out there. That's probably my favorite 2 ways to keep fish on the ice. But there's one other way that works really well, and that's using a cooler. So if you've put a little water in a cooler, you can hole hop with it. You can also just put it in your shack with you and keep fish that way. A lot of tournament guys prefer that method because they're moving so much and they don't want to lose weight on those fish by having them dry out. So they just keep a little water in the bottom of the cooler and just take it with them. So that's 5 tips to keep your fish from freezing on the ice. Good luck out there, guys. Get hooked up.